Hi, I'm Sean Sherman. I'm the developer of the Reset System.
And I'm Jonathan Lose, Director of Education for the Reset System. And tonight we're going to talk about what Reset is and how it's unique in the industry.
All right, so a definition of Reset that I would give is that Reset is a systematic approach to identifying and removing the true source of compensatory movement, which we would call joint dysfunctions.
All right, and that sounds great, but it also sounds like a lot of different things that are out there in the industry. So what are some of the things that make Reset unique?
All right, so I got a list of about 4 or 5 here, and the first thing I have on my list is that observable distortions in movement are actual distractions if the goal is to restore motor control or to restore high-level movement quality. So when I say observable distortions, what that might look like in the field is putting somebody in front of a posture grid and noticing distortions in the way a person is carrying their shoulders or their hip is hiked on one side. That would be a distortion. Also, a distortion would be asymmetrical range of motion. So using range of motion screens in order to find these asymmetries and these differences from the right side of the body to the left side of the body, that's a distraction. And also something along the lines of performing
squat.
Yeah, squat, like something the industry might call a functional movement.
Okay.
So noticing these distortions, I think a lot of times are distractions if the goal is to restore motor control. So I think that makes us unique because we're not really paying attention to those things as anything other than, maybe a pre and post snapshot of what's going on.
Well, that's neat because the industry looks at those observable aspects as the best way of assessing motor control. So
right, and that goes into what I think I have number 3 here is actually that since mobility and stability aren't actual components of the human movement system, but actually outcomes, it's actually it's like a virtual waste of time to pay attention to outcomes if you don't understand how the machine is supposed to work. So it's one of my clients one time told me, he was an HVAC guy, a heating, ventilation, air conditioning guy, and he said, you have to know how the machine is supposed to work before you can fix it. And I think paying attention to outcomes doesn't really tell you a whole lot about the inputs and the components, the building blocks of the human movement system. So Reset's we're attempting to focus on the inputs of the HMS. So I think makes us unique.
Right.
Another thought, idea that I think makes us unique is that I hear a lot of people talking about train the chain, and that's such a valuable thing. When I hear someone say train the chain, what I hear is, hey, let's practice compensation.
Right.
And I think that makes us very unique because most people would argue that, properly performing a squat with great technique and great execution is corrective. I think no. I think that the idea of rolling around the floor with what people might be calling primal movement patterns as a way of correcting weakened links or dysfunctional links in the chain, I don't think it gets it done either. I think what happens when we train complicated, complex joint movements and patterns of movement, all you're doing is actually rehearsing and reinforcing that chain, whether it's dysfunctional or whether it's flawless.
Whatever software the body has, it's going to keep on utilizing the resources in a way that's best suited for the environment, and it's never really going to address those limitations. And it's also neat to point out, or at least important to point out, is that those other systems that with the rolling or crawling or kneeling or asymmetrical, it wasn't that they were getting results, but
they get results.
They're predicated on outcomes as being their primary indicator, and outcomes are still results. But as you say, how good are you actually going to be?
Right, are we settling for good when we could have great?
Right.
I mean, is the industry just settling sometimes? I think we are a lot of times. And then I think I have one more here that. Oh yeah, here's something. I hear people talk about correctives all the time, and this person has to do their special correctives. That person has back pain, that person has tight hamstrings, something along those lines. Oh, here's your correctives. And then they are assigned to do these things for weeks and months and sometimes years on end. And my view is that if you're needing to perform the same movements over and over, and the same exercises, the same stretches repetitively for days and weeks and months, that would make what you're doing not corrective. So if you're not actually creating an instantaneous change in movement quality, you're probably doing it wrong.
Right.
And that sounds harsh, but we're seeing instantaneous change constantly every session with reset.
So like with exercise, exercise is meant to stress the tissue. If you're looking for tissue adaptations, then you need exercise. If it's motor control things you're trying to change, it should happen like that.
Absolutely.
And if it takes thousands of reps for that to happen, it's back to that compensation component.
Exactly, just practicing compensation.
Right.
Which was really replacement strategy, which will follow up in a future video. But that's all I have as our list of some of the main unique components of our system.
Well, I may add one more in there.
All right.
So I think what's really cool about Reset is that in terms of the conceptual thought process, the observable work that has happened, it's based on this really, not basic, but simple, elegant system. And that simplicity has allowed many practitioners to be able to get to a true source of this dysfunction really quickly with really great results. And even another gem of it is that the reproducibility of the system in terms of teaching students, how fast they're able to start working with their patients or clients within a couple of weekends. So sometimes it sounds a little bit too good to be true, but it's pretty amazing. So
it's one of those few things that might be. Yeah. So great. So I guess moving forward, make sure you guys check out some of our other videos. We're going to get a little bit more in depth on these topics and some other movement related topics. So for now, thanks for checking in.